What is up, guys? Wraec is here with a new video, and finally with another episode of the Transcendence Zero series. We're going to take a look at LDA. In this video, I'm going to talk a lot about the skills of LDA. I'm going to give you a little bit of an inside view on some of his abilities, some tricks that you can use to make more use out of LDA. And I'm going to give you a preview of a video that is still to come. It is a bit of a work in progress, and it's one of the nastiest PvP teams that I've built so far, using all of the stuff that I'm going to show you in this video about LDA to inflict massive damage. It looks like a cheat. You will love it or hate it or whatever. If other people use it, you will hate it. But it will be absolutely great to watch, so stay tuned for that. I want to talk a little bit about LDA in general first. Not really about the hero skills. We'll come to that in a second. And we'll talk about many aspects of it, because this is one of the most interesting heroes in the game. But I want to talk a little bit of the history. So when this guy was released, the opinions on him were very, very divided. He was anticipated with a lot of hype because, first of all, we saw Azrael. And Azrael had this ability which kind of looks the same like the one that we already know from another hero, which is Carry. Basically, this guy's able to revive. He becomes a corpse, which is essentially like a dead unit remnant staying on the board, filling his slot after he died, and after some time or some death of units, he will revive. There is another unit that shares that, which is Carry, by the way, here with the gorgeous Ace Championship skin. Absolutely great. And she also has this ability that she revives. And there were people that were like, okay, Azrael, he wasn't really too great. Nice choice, however, for the Shadow SL. Nonetheless, not the greatest unit, but maybe, now that we get the Transcendence version, a reviving Transcendence hero. Isn't that something? Is that something that is cool? And maybe he will be on this power level of Carry, which I vividly remember. You have to see it in that way. That many people at that point remembered a time where Carry used to be an absolute monster. And still was to an extent at that point, where the limited selection of Transcendence heroes still allowed you to use normal heroes from time to time. Carry with her dodge and energy drain was still an absolute unit. And those people, kind of like me, had memories as such when I was in PvP in Crystal Crown back then. And I set my team up there, and I remember I had two Garudas with both of those skins. If you remember the Garuda skins, I don't know if somebody had those too. Let's check those out, I still have them. The wonderful Super Harvest skin everybody hated. I loved it because it threw chickens at the enemy, which was absolutely great. And I had two Garudas, and I was in PvP, and I was proud because I was fully 5, had like 3.2 million power back then. And then saw this guy that was running, I think, 6 carries. More of a joke at that point. It was like a flex, we could say, because at that point it was difficult to obtain so many copies for Carry. So having 6 of them was an absolute ridiculous flex of whaling, comparable with having like S tiers on them right now, because this was like having enough copies of a dark hero was absolutely insane. It had over 4 million power, which I thought was a madness. And people remember that and remember the fear of like having this hero that just revives with full HP and haunts you, and you just can't get them all from the battlefield. And maybe you have experienced something like this in Void campaign as well. And well, then we got LDA, and LDA was not really what people expected. Mainly they hated one thing, and let me show you that. So just an example fight, I want you to take a look at the HP bar of LDA. Just keep an eye out for it. Especially when he ults. Do you see that? Where he just lost basically all of his HP? That is actually his ult. His ult is to deal damage to himself. And that damage that he deals to himself, that is a bad fight, will be inflicted on the 2 enemies with the lowest HP. So, loads. So basically, the more damage he deals to himself with this attack, the more damage he will deal to the enemy. And people hated that idea, because that was still a time where you really wanted to have your heroes survive. You wanted them to survive. And while it was great that LDA could revive, without further synergy from other heroes that were able to revive too and kind of support his reviving abilities, because we can take a look at that specific ability, later on, this was kind of difficult. So they really hated this aspect of him dealing damage to himself. And it is kind of interesting the way how this works. You saw that essentially he dealt a few hits to himself, like multiple hits. And the amount of hits that he deals himself depend on this skill effect called Curse of Doomsday. And Curse of Doomsday is obtained by him in multiple ways, doing his basic skill, for example, or having a hero on your team die. That will also give him Curse of Doomsday, and that will basically amplify the damage he deals to himself. And it leads to a very, very interesting dynamic in that, because this effect works like that. Basically, he starts his active skill, and a skill effect called Soul Castigation will be forced upon the 2 enemies with the lowest HP. This effect, Soul Castigation, it can't be blocked, it can't be purified, it becomes invalid the moment the active skill is done. But during that time, it will basically create a link. It will not be displayed in that way, not such as in Gustin fight, for example, where you really see the link. It isn't like that. You just have to trust that it is on the enemy. And it will just deal damage to the target in the same amount of the damage dealt by his active skill to himself. And this can't crit, and its damage can't be reduced, which means it depends entirely on the damage you deal to yourself, what damage the enemy takes. So it makes it completely pointless to try to block his damage with something like a crown. If your enemy uses a crown, it will actually not reduce the damage dealt by Azrael at all. Which means he is very, very good at dealing damage against very tanky enemies, actually. At the same time, you have one disadvantage. You actually can't have tankiness on him by yourself. Because every bit of damage reduction, every bit of all damage reduction, every bit of having a crown or something like that will reduce the damage he deals. Because it will just reduce the damage he deals to himself. So essentially, you always run this guy as an absolute glass cannon. That leads to setups like this, where we have like Linear Melody of Universe or something like that, where we have full red setups, or you can go for Purify, but you really don't want to block anything. You want to maximize the damage he deals to himself. And those glass cannon builds were very unpopular. Now we can run those, and it can be very, very fancy. Actually, and at the same time, he also has a revive ability. So that's cool. Revive ability works very similar to the ones we already know. Basically, when he dies, he will transform in this thing called the Phantom Remnant. Doesn't matter really what it's called. And it will be for 4 rounds, and then he will revive. This on itself is bad, but then we come to the next part. While this Phantom Remnant is active, at the end of each round, he will deal a bit of damage to the enemy. This damage is armor ignoring, which really doesn't matter. The damage he deals while in the Phantom Remnant state is irrelevant. An interesting part to this, and the reason why he was meta for a very long time, is this, and reduces their effect of being healed by 50% for 3 rounds. So essentially 50% of the heal that the enemies you would otherwise get is gone. And that's cool, because this was used in damage over time builds, where he was just dead for 4 rounds, and then put this effect of being healed debuff on the enemy and prevented heal entirely, which is really, really good if you have a slow meta. This is like really, really great for slow metas. So that was used in some teams. And then every single hero killed reduces self-revival counter by 1 round. Doesn't matter if it's an enemy or an ally. Both work. And if either the Phantom Remnant, so this thing that he becomes, or his active skill, Soul Castigation without the effect on the enemy, kills an enemy, he will be revived at the beginning of the next round with full HP, full energy, and 1 layer of Curse of Doomsday. So what you essentially want is, you either want to have him die while doing his active skill and killing an enemy, or you want to have other heroes die to quicken up his revive. He also has those weirdly described skills. It always says during the existence of Phantom Remnant and at the end of each round. This just means that basically he has to be in this Phantom Remnant state, and it has to be the end of the round. It doesn't mean that in both of those cases separately it would trigger. It doesn't trigger at the end of each round. It just triggers at the end of each round when he's a Phantom Remnant. It will reduce your all damage dealt, and it will recover a little bit of energy. You hardly notice it. It's rather interesting. But this leads to some interesting ways. Personally, I don't really go into the way of using the Soul Castigation directly. It has good damage. It really does. We can try it out a little bit. If we go back to Iron Dragon one more time, I can actually show you. It really does do a lot of damage. Keep an eye out on those two enemies. It's the Wukong and the DGN you want to look at. Unless we just stand there and are stunned. Okay, we nuked the entire enemy team still, but that wasn't really the effect. Oh, come on! Can we do some damage? No, we are going to. Okay, yeah. This RNG is like horrible. Okay. You can see we didn't even have a lot of layers. This was like one layer and we still took out 2 heroes and we triggered Unbending Will. Keep that in mind. We trigger Unbending Will, but we had enough hits in there to actually punch through. Because those are layered hits. Every single hit that he deals to himself is translated to the enemy, meaning this active skill does have a lot of hits because it can have 1 additional hit for every Curse of Doomsday that you have. Which is really cool. And then we also get like the extra hits that are in here. Deals extra 600 damage to 2 enemies with the lowest HP, so this is like an extra hit. And the damage actually buffed to 110%. So this can actually leads to it being kind of good against Unbending Will as well. So I don't use it that way. The way that I want to have my Soul Castigation or my Advent of Doom is I kind of want to deal a lot of damage with it to himself, mainly to kill him off very fast. If I take out some enemies with it, that's actually pretty cool as well. But I rather want to just kill him off to do something that many people actually do with him, and that is just like trigger the Nova Sacred Flame. Nova Sacred Flame has this effect when a hero dies that has like Nova Sacred Flame on them. It will burn all the enemies and dealing damage to 33% of self max HP 3 times for 3 rounds, which is obscene amounts of damage, and it will trigger every single time he dies. So when he revives and dies again, it will trigger again, and so on. We saw this combination used with LBRM, and we can compare the 2 options, by the way, also towards the end of the video. And that is very, very interesting, and I commonly use that. Another aspect that I want you to understand is, again, about the 4th skill, because the 4th and the active skill are really the ones that you really want to know about. So revives in itself work a little differently from hero to hero. Basically, we know 2 types of revives, and there is one group of hero that shares all of them. Basically, LBRM, Carry, Azrael, and LDA all share the same kind of revive. And the way this revive works, and we kind of have to fight another person for that. Let's use, where is he? Oh wait, wrong. Here. We're going to fight Bravestar, and we're actually going to take LBRM into the team, which I'm just blind. There she is. And the way this works now, LBRM usually revives. She has like 3 revives or something from the start, so is not really a thing. Same for Carry, she can also revive. The thing is, we never reach round 2. Why is that? Well, all those heroes, Carry, LDA, LBRM, they all check at the beginning of the round whether the conditions are met for revive. And that is something that is a little bit troubling. We have other revives in the game too. So this sounds stupid now, but the other group is fairly limited. Oh, J6R. Wait, we give him a like. We give him the... I didn't want to enter this, but when we are already there. And the other group, well, it is really Michelle and any hero that carries the Time Plume Star Sword. And those heroes work differently. They force the next round. And you saw the fight just right now. And I want you to see the difference with just like Michelle there. Michelle obviously instantly dies. All of our heroes will die. But we will not lose the fight. You can see we don't lose the fight. We actually get to round 2. And that is something that you kind of want to use together with him. Not necessarily Michelle. But what you want to use is a hero that either survives by himself, or is able to delay the fight to the next round. The older version was you want the hero that survives with them. And this is also something if you, by the way, want to do a meme account and want to use him as carry. It doesn't really work, because he will kill off himself and you will lose the fight because, well, you're dead. But if you have another hero that survives or is able to drag out the fight to the next round through forced revive, then you can win. And that is something you want to use in PvP as well. So we can, for example, put our IHP in the fight. IHP in this case has the Time Plume Star Soul, and the Time Plume Star Soul also forces the second round. I hope you can kill us. Yes, Time Plume Star Soul will force us into the next round, where actually I think we will still die because our dude didn't actually kill anything. Yes, but yeah, this works. So this is how you delay the fight in the end. And this is something you also need when you, for example, want to go into Sealand. You really can't use him as a carry by himself. Like, that is another thing. Let's just put a few heroes in here and I will show you. Don't have to make the team too great. Let's just use a few puppets. He will, okay, absolutely destroy that because we have a ton of damage. That might actually be a little bit too often. But even there, he just destroyed himself in this fight. And we only live because 2 of our heroes survived. The more damage we have and the more like we drag the fight out, you can imagine that this guy will, even if you have like huge stats on him, he will just delete himself. And you want him to delete himself, otherwise you don't have damage. So you need a second hero to survive next to him. This is always the case in PvE with him and also in PvP. So what did I do? I kind of made a team around exactly this. He has 2 more abilities and we quickly have to basically check those out. First ability is his basic. It sucks. Can't really say it otherwise. It deals damage to 1 enemy, is really bad, doesn't really do anything. It's armor ignoring, which is still bad. The only interesting part is it increases the target's all damage received, which is cool. This is cool if you combine this with like a DGN. Very, very nice. And the other one is very interesting actually, and mostly doesn't work. Whenever a hero dies, self gains layer of Curse of Doomsday. We already said that. Removes 1 debuff from self, mostly counts towards attribute reductions. Haven't really seen him remove a CC. And if an enemy dies, he gains energy and a ton of energy actually. And if an ally dies, he will increase self speed and holy damage. And also if an enemy dies, he will buff the whole team's attack. And if an ally dies, he will reduce the enemy crit damage. This all works, very cool. To really make use of this, you would want him to stay alive. When he's dead, when he's in this phantom form, he actually doesn't do that. He actually doesn't do a lot of things when he is in this phantom form. During this phantom form, the hero is essentially dead. That means stuff like Endless Cane won't count. He will actually not get any transition power for DT. There is no way for him to get that at that point. He can't trigger his DT while he's dead. He can't get any buffs while he's dead. He can't give out any buffs while he's dead. The only thing that he can do is what is described right here. Deal damage to the enemy, inflict the debuff on the enemy. That's it, revive at some point. So this is not that great and is triggered, yes, because you have allies dying obviously in a team like this, but you don't get too much use of it. DT, kind of horrible. We have to say let's say core first. Core is interesting. Whenever an ally dies, you deal damage to the enemies and you grant your teammates Distant Blessing. It can only be triggered once for each ally per battle, so you can't use like a carry to die, revive to trigger it more often. It gives holy damage, controlling mutant speed, which isn't too bad. Only problem is when he dies, his core deactivates. So then the core is gone. So yeah, you don't really want to have the core active on a hero that tries to kill himself, because then you don't have a core. So kind of bad. DT is, it works. Whenever he takes damage, if he has 5 or more layers of transition power, he will deal damage to 2 enemies. And when he dies, for every 5 layers of transition power, he will deal damage to all enemies and reduce effect of being hit. So it kind of works into that. Only thing is, yeah, you kind of get like 1 active skill and then he's most often dead. So yeah, it isn't bad that he dies. It's just that you can't really trigger it too often. It's just the way it works. My selection, I go middle one on this one. The other 2 aren't really too good. The middle one here can do whatever. Target speed reduction is okay. Target attack is good. I go for reducing target all damage reduction, which is very nice. Target all damage dealt is okay. I don't go speed. Interesting enough, I don't go speed because he often just dies from 1 attack and then those buffs are gone. So just go for all damage dealt. Yeah, that's basically it for this. I used all of this combined for a team that essentially is supposed to deal like a ton of damage. And it really does. It is kind of insane. So how does this team look right now? So this, for the moment, is the team. I still have to do a few upgrades on it. And I will tell you in a second what exactly. We have a carry on here with Balance Strike, supposed to die from basically everything. Only problem is, even right now, she has like 120 mil attack, which isn't too good. D- Awakening here on the team. I'm thinking about a replacement for her. I haven't really found one so far. So that is a bit of a thing. We have, of course, our LDA, 3444 speed. That is our role. I'm not happy with the bonus stats. I would like to have something like Twine Immunity or Stun Immunity. I actually do want him to do his ult on turn 1. Skill damage, Armor Break, Defire, Hunter's Focus, big damage here. Then we go for speed. We go for Lingering Melody of the Universe. And sadly, and this is something that I also kind of still have to figure out, he takes so many of the enemy's deific snow hearts, which reduce, of course, the energy that he gets, energy that he has, that this often leads to him just doing a basic on turn 1, despite having, like, obviously an energy artifact equipped, which gives 100 energy. So, yeah, it just has so much speed because he's an assassin. 3444 is kind of crazy. We go speed enables with Control Purify because we lack, like, the immunities. And then I just have, like, precision. We have skill damage. We have control immunity. The thing about the stat distribution is, you can see it right here. We are already at 49% crit on my account without having any crit skilled. So that is crazy. In PvP we go even higher. PvP we go even higher. Same for crit damage. 218% armor break without armor break being skilled. So that is like just because he's an assassin. Then we have basically 4 very interesting heroes. We of course take the LBRM for a bit of CC removal for a few buffs. And of course because she has the revives. Then we have the IHP, the IEA. I don't use IEA for like the same way that she's usually used. Most people just want her to die, trigger her damage on death effect, and just like have a revive immediately. I don't really want her to die. I really don't. I don't really want her to die. So she has the enabling unbending will. She's in the background a little bit. She doesn't really even have like a big damage artifact. It's just Will of Winter. So she's in the background. And then we have 2 heroes that I really don't want to die. First of all is a very, very interesting one. Star Alchemist Holmes Young. We made the review. You have to check it out. I will just assume you did, and just going to point out the things that I use him for. Basically, this guy is super tanky. This guy has Perceptual Disorder to CC the enemy. What it does, as I said, review, just watch it, will be very cool. And then what we are using is, first is for once, this part, where he gets all damage dealt buffs and energy restoration and everything every 6 rounds. And then we also want to use his DT actually, which is very, very cool. DT gives him 45% all damage reduction, increases attack and everything. So when he triggers that, that is very, very nice because it makes him super tanky. And at the same time, the other thing is I want his core. His core is like a main thing. We get a ton of heal from that, and we get something that is very, very mean. When an ally dies, there's 100% chance to inflict Perceptual Disorder on the 2 enemies with the highest attack for 1 round. So, as soon as the carry from our team dies, we have Perceptual Disorder on the enemy. If he has something like a Wukong on the team, commonly the carry just drops stat because he has so low HP. If he takes with anything, the carry will die. He will have Perceptual Disorder on him. Will be very annoying. And then we use my IHP. Actually, we could get much more attack on her. Didn't really bother yet. We don't really need her damage. Not at all. What we use her for is kind of burn immunity, which we don't have. I would like to have that. Right now we have Holy Armor a little bit as like a replacement. We have body protection. You can run it, as I said, without the body protection, without the pure flow. You can run it with like an A copy or something. It will work. You want the Holy Armor because it will help a lot against enemy burn effects. And then we are actually using this ability. When any hero dies on battlefield, Interstellar Armament gets 4 more chances. If that hero is an ally, additionally increases self all damage reduction by 20% for 2 rounds. Restore self HP equal to 25% of HP. We can also get some buffs when the enemy dies. The thing is, attribute buffs last for 4 rounds, which is very, very cool. and all allies gain 50% of it. So we can really stack up all damage reduction very, very early on her, max it out, cap it very, very fast. We have a ton of HP restoration, so it will be very, very tough to kill her and Star Storm's Youngs, and that commonly allows him to live through some of the enemy attacks. And I will show you that again against Bravestar, who has a very strong team. It's the strongest team in my friend list. I can tell you that. Sorry, right now it's the strongest team in my friend list. So this is how it looks. Essentially, you get like 0 damage at the beginning of the fight. We don't have the CC immunity. The IHP, of course, keeps regenerating HP all the time. I didn't change the positioning. It is very, very bad that we have this positioning because this LFA is directly attacking our IEA. I didn't change that. I wanted it to be like a genuine fight. Now our dude died, which is a bit sad that it took till turn 2. We got the Dove on the IEA, which is horrible. My god. Okay, that was really, really bad actually. We get the revive, our LDA is back. We get the cleanup and actually survive through another activation there and through another activation of his LBRM. LBRM with the revive, you can see how much damage this IEA actually tanked. It was just about tanking the damage. And we won this very, very bad fight just with our team dying, reviving, and him being unable to kill us. And the idea of this was that it was actually supposed to be not like an ace team. You can't use this as ace team because any hero that dies in ace is just like gone. So this is very, very bad. But you could actually use this as just like a normal PvP team, maybe FTA, maybe something like this, because it has the very high win rate. Unless this happens, this was actually a bad fight. It has a very, very high win rate against many, many teams. It is a little bit RNG what happens on during the fight. Like sometimes you get the active skill, most commonly you don't get it if the enemy has like high damage. You can actually take out your LDA, which is great if it happens on turn 1. If you get like an active skill, that's great as well. You can see all the unbending will layers, all the unbending will gets activated. We can still put a ton of attack on like the IEA, which I didn't do yet. So we are back. This is crazy. Okay, now we got the defeat. That is actually horrible. Look, we did 1.1 billion. It was a little bit unfortunate. I think it's still that we have like missed the burn immunity. If we had that, I think we would be at like probably 100%. And the thing right now is, what do I think is better? Maybe this is a good situation to say that. Do I think that LDA with like the Nova is better than LBRM? No, I don't think so. I don't think he is the better Nova hero. I think for most people, putting Nova on LBRM will be much better. Because this team is complicated. This has multiple layers to it, where we kind of try to get the revive happen. Where we try to get the comeback and everything. And it makes it work very, very well. We get super high damage. But look at that, like how much of a struggle it still is to fight an LBRM that has a lot less stats than we have and is A-. This is an SSS LDA. SSS, absolutely insane. So I think like an LBRM will be way better for most of the people. Still, like even against a very strong player, do we have like Planar Chaos here? Planar Chaos, also very strong player, 21 billion. Actually, yeah, get your stuff up, mate. What's wrong there? No, we can just fight them. It's a pretty cool team. I thought he had more power actually. Like we get the active skill. Do you see that? How many kills this got? Like the active skill can really, really be good. And we get back-to-back active skills too, due to the third passive skill. Second passive, first passive skill. Why am I so confused about this today? I don't know. That was even without a death, so can be very, very good. Yeah, so what do I want to improve? Well, definitely we need like the burn immunity on her. And it took this role now, but we need the burn immunity to survive stuff like LBM. I'm still thinking about this carry thing, because carry is cool and is currently, I think, the best hero for it. But I'm not too sure. And I would actually prefer to not have IEA on the team. What I would kind of think would be cool would be instead of IEA, Time Plume PDE. That sounds weird, and this is something that people haven't done, but the thing is, PDE is notoriously difficult to kill. Really, really difficult, because she will heal herself, she will heal the allies, she will put CC immunity and stuff on them, and will be very, very tough to kill her. The thing is, if you put Time Plume on her, this Time Plume will trigger incredibly late, because the enemy will struggle to kill the PDE. And if the PDE survives for a very long time, and Time Plume only triggers, like, let's say, turn 4 or 5. Imagine how many revives I can get with LDA. So this is something that I'm strongly considering, if that makes sense. And maybe we could add some other star souls to that too. No, I'm not too sure about what makes sense there. I mean, a Spectre for sense would go well on the IHP just to get an early activation. Yeah. And for the other heroes, something like Finn can be interesting, but I'm not too sure if I really want to have him. Finn is very interesting in the way that he has like a very similar ability to actually Stalk him as Storm's-Young. But I wouldn't want to put Time Plume on him just because, well, I kind of want it on a tanky hero right there, you know? That is really the point. We can maybe try a little bit of PvE. Do we have Gate of the Void maybe? That could be interesting, like a 180. Oh, you have a 180. I have the Special Smashy, by the way, active. Let's see a little bit about the PvE damage. I think this will probably be a good demonstration, just not with this team, because this team will be a little bit too mean. Let's just take him in there. And maybe who do we add? I think this is good. This is good already. With Monkey in there. And Basilisk. So I guess this was decent. I mean, like, shields aren't really too great. I haven't tested that, but like, if he has a shield, the damage to the shield should actually not count. Because damage to the shield is no damage. So the more the heroes you have on your team that actually increase your shield, the less damage this guy deals. Oh wait, he bypassed the shield. Interesting. Okay, we made the test right here. We made the test right here. He bypassed the shield. To just deal damage immediately to his HP. Notification sound there, I apologize. Hope it didn't disturb you. I mean, like, it's not really the big burst. And he is set up to be very, very big, actually. You don't really see the deaths happen in this team. That was the basic, with many layers of Curse of Doomsday. And you don't get around, it's like still Wukong doing more damage, I think. What do we have here? SQH winning. Okay. SQH won, ladies and gentlemen. That is interesting. Without a Star Soul, I guess. Yeah, she has a Giant Killer Defier skill damage roll, so that makes sense. So now it's not very impressive right here. Maybe we can do like one more fight without the Wukong, maybe. What do we try? Or we can try... I can try this. This could be cool. Let's see that. Yeah, at the beginning, if no allies died, we don't really have Curse of Doomsday. So without Curse of Doomsday, we just deal like 2 hits to us. So the damage isn't really that high. With the basic, we basically don't deal any damage at all. This is just like horrible, I said it. Let's see. Can we get another active? I don't think we have a lot of energy feed. Ah, okay. Active skill? It takes enemies out. It isn't too bad. Another one. And then we are dead. If we die, it's good, actually. It's good damage. It isn't really super impressive. Was also the reason people struggled to get through Shadow SL, by the way. Because like the heroes that we had in Transcendence heroes there, first of all, we started off with like Starwing Jara, so Jara. Really not a boss damage dealer. Then the next hero that came were LDA, who was killing himself, so you could try to just have like Starwing Jar, wasn't really tanky, put a crown on her and try to survive so LDA can deal the damage, which really didn't work out. And only then we got like Betty, which was OP, so that makes it a lot easier. I still think we're still kind of struggling for a good boss damage dealer in Sealand, because Noten Hague certainly isn't it. And I mean, like, Basilisk is boss damage dealer. Maybe Basilisk is already the best boss damage dealer for there. Which is kind of crazy. Yeah, isn't really a good faction. I have to say, it is a really good faction. So that was interesting. yeah, I'm trying to work on this team a little bit more, try to improve it a little bit, but nonetheless, we can watch one more fight against Bravestar. I really have to get the Twine immunity, which is like really bothering me. If we can get like an ult on turn 1, that will be better, but turn 2 ult is fine actually too. But right now, without the Twine immunity, you can see we get like full energy drained, which is horrible. Which is like really horrible. And I have to find a replacement for the carry. What's my rating for like LDA? Difficult. It's a very, very difficult unit. I don't think anybody in early game should build this guy. I don't think he's like a carry by any means. A carry for your PvE. I think he's underestimated for PvP. I think he can do more than just be like a Nova hero, even though he is very good at that and he probably will do it. I think for endgame players that wanted to go into PvP, he is an interesting choice. The reason why I assume most people don't really use him is because of Ace Championship. You want to build your team so that you can use it in Ace Championship. And the problem with that is, if you use LDA in Ace Championship and he kills himself off and is dead by the end of the round where you win, he will actually be gone and will not come to the next fight as a Phantom Remnant, for example, or be revived for the next fight. He will just not be in the next fight at all, so you lose your carry unit. This is why most people say, okay, maybe I don't use this guy and use another hero instead. But he is a great unit, and he is very, very cool, and I think if you go into something maybe even like free team up, I think he could be great for free team up still. I will probably try him out there this season, so if you fight me in free team up, it will probably be this team, essentially look like this team, because I think I can use this team maybe in a little bit of a variation without the IEA. Build a very similar team at least for free team up. Could see that. Take the Star Souls off. We can't use the... Can we use the core? I don't think we can use core in free team up, right? I don't think we can use core in free team up. So we lose that. But like the rest still works. I can probably use it in free team up. That's fancy. So we're going to do that. Is it a top tier hero? No, can't really say. It's not like on the level of Wukong. It has too many downsides to be a hero like, let's say, Wukong, where you say, okay, everything is great and he does so much more and has 2 built-in immunities or something crazy like that. He doesn't really have that. He has some interesting stuff. He has stuff that you should know about, and he has a utility that will one day force him back into teams. I know that already. This is like, this makes sense. It's never a hero that I will use to build into X tier. There's like 0 chance for that, but is still cool. I'm very happy that I got an SSS unit of him. You can tell me your opinion about this guy down in the comments below. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed this. Leave a subscription. Hit that hype button if you're on an Android or iOS device. And we'll see us in the next one.